So let's just start with some fun shares or wins before we feature Joe. And anybody that want to share, this is the perfect time just to say, hey, what's working for you? It could be a ad, it could be conversions, it could be scripts, strategies, integrations that you find are fun for you. Who's got something they'd like to share? No pressure. Or I'll start calling you one by one, starting with people on camera.
Well, I don't have a share. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I don't have a share. I just bought a ring, and this lighting thing's kind of interesting, but I think I bought the wrong one. Are we supposed to buy one that connects to the phone or like something like that?
No, you did right. You did right.
That's
There's options on both of them. I think it's just whatever is functional for you. So I have one with my phone. I have one on here on the side. You can actually see it as part of the. So,
yeah. So should I think I get the one that goes around the phone so I could take it wherever I go. This one I can't, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one costs like
Track?
$15 or something like that. Yeah, my kids got it, so it's useful.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm starting with this bonbon stuff, so I'm a little, it's new to me. So I gotta start somewhere, right?
Right.
And they have several sizes. I've got a real mini ring that goes around my phone, flips right on it. And I've got the bigger, like 9 or 10-inch ring that mounts the iPhone inside it with the stand. So some of the other ones that are cool is they also come with a remote control, so you can set it from you and hit the button and be able to record from a distance. And that goes right on and off. The software loads in your phone and makes it real easy.
Yeah, that's the one I got with remote control. I think that's best for me. Okay, cool. Thanks, Leon.
I was just wondering, Leon, you had mentioned that I guess you were able to get a background image in your videos. I don't know if you can do a video on that.
Yeah, and I was looking online lately. I've been getting spammed really heavy where they've got the portable green screen. It's like 5 foot high, so such wide, whatever, and it makes for better the green screen. And then I'm just now starting to deep dive a little better into some of the editing stuff that'll put the stuff in there. So if I see something interesting, I'll post it in the group and share it.
All right. I know we have some wins in here. You can simply just unmute yourself or use the raise your hand feature.
I have one.
Go for it.
Actually, I have 3. So it's from my buyer's ad. Okay, so it's for my buyer's ad, and I had this buyer ad running for almost like 3 days. I got 3 candidate buyers. I mean, very strong buyers. We signed agreements like buyer's brokerage agreements, just so they cannot work with any other agents yesterday. And one of them is around like 300,000. The other is around like 450. The best one is actually is a $1.2 million 1031 exchange. So we have to sell her property in LA, and then she has to buy the same amount or more in Las Vegas. And she just clicked on my ad, and I reach out to her. I call her, and then I send her an email. And half an hour later, she reached out to me, and she told me about her life situation, and she decided to work with me. So I'm on the mission to sell her LA property, which is gonna be my kind of referral commission, which is I think is gonna be great for 1.2 million. And then I'm going to handle all her purchases here, which is gonna be between 2 to 4 properties, which is I think is a win.
I would say so.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. And a lot of the people are aware, and maybe you should, like, this is awesome to talk about. Logan was saying that 60% of buyers right now have an asset to sell, and this obviously is true, right? You got someone who needs to sell in LA, you're going to take that referral, and now you're going to get 3 to 4 properties out of that. So don't discount the buyer ads. That's a great testimony. Right.
And that's actually that's a good lead in on other things too. People don't know what a 1031 exchange is, so find out what you can on it. One of your things you can add is, do you need to do a 1031 exchange? Do you know what it is? That's the yes, no questions. Make them respond to you. But if you're going to run something like that, make sure you have the answer, have the material to send them, or whatever it is you're going to promise them, because investors are always buying. That's a year-round thing.
Yeah, no, I did my homework. I talked to an attorney. I talked to 1031 company, 1031 exchange company. I talked to some realtors that they have done it before. This is basically my first time to do 1031 exchange. So I did my homework very well. So if she asked me any questions, I just have the answer for it. And then so she feels confident that she's gonna work with me.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've got kind of a minor win, if I could share. So I'm on trial, and I used to buy my leads from through our brokerage for many years, on and off, and mostly buyer stuff, here and there. But in any case, lately I've been buying from them, and I started running some ads with you guys this past week. And just the other day, brand new ad, the home valuation thing, a seller thing. I emailed back and forth, and I got to talk to her, and it was like, this was much better than the leads I've been getting, and I'm paying 26 or $7 a pop for a lead through my company. So it was like so much better talking to her. And it means, yeah, it's going to happen in a few months down the road, but she was receptive, open, wanting to talk, gave her some good info, gave her a CMA verbally, blah, blah, blah. So it was like, yeah, I was very happy and excited about that. So on to some more now,
Yeah, and that's what we
Good
like to
win.
do, Leia. It's fantastic, and I mean, we say it all the time, right? I mean, you guys come in and do the work, and you and I have got to meet, quite a few times, coming in and coming to the masterminds. That's important. That's for every single one of you guys on here. This is step one. Come and see what's working for other people, see what's not working for other people, and come up with your own strategies and processes. And the we always say it the same way, in my view, is a good lead is somebody who's ready to talk to you. Right? A good lead isn't necessarily somebody who's ready to sell their home. A good lead is somebody who owns a home, isn't currently working with another realtor, and is ready to talk real estate with you, knowing you're an agent. To me, I don't care if they're 2 months, 3 months, 6 months away. Great. I have a fantastic lead that I have time to work with now, right? So good to hear from you, Ole. Thank you for that.
I'll have some more questions on follow-ups a little later, but we'll let the thing carry on for now. I'm just reading your text, okay?
Hey, and this is going to be refreshing for you, because you know how much we talk about BombBomb and HomeBot and all these other great solutions, and Canadians are like, no, we don't have HomeBot. Well, I'm going to feature Joe now. And Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, how long you've been with StreetText, how you've kind of been, what you learned in the beginning and what you kind of learning now that, maybe some of your experience coming in and the success you've had so far with StreetText. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I initially got into StreetText. I was doing a lot of expireds for sale by owners, and did really well in those to start my career over the first couple of years. I was looking for something a little more, not as hands-on, where you have to spend all day calling, but leads would come in. Obviously, you have to do some work, but it'd be a little more on the back end. So I got into StreetText probably a little over a year ago now. I think it was about June 1st. Right out the gate, I had couple listings, couple deals done. I just got really lucky. I think like day one even, I had someone who was an expired, and I actually called them, set the appointment, signed it. And so, I was obviously on cloud nine. It started off really strong. And then it was sort of a lull up until maybe the beginning of this year. And then it started really taking off again. I think the big thing with StreetText is, it's really a long-term game. I mean, you're not going to run into a lot of people that will list, in 30, 60 days. But, if you stay in there for 6 months, a year, a lot of them will come to fruition. I even think even some, maybe 2 years. I mean, you're really just developing relationships. So the more relationships you have, the more money you will make, provided you do follow up and nurture those.
That makes sense. So talk to us. Like, you had a couple deals that came out of the gate. It took a slow turn. And then where are we at now? Like, how many transactions can you say you've honestly had from StreetText himself?
I would say between closed deals pending and listed, somewhere around 11 or 12 right now. And I honestly think year 2 out of it will be bigger, just because, I have a ton of leads. I've been developing a lot of relationships, people that might be listing the next couple months. And then a lot of those will turn over, even things you like never expected that just maybe they came in as a just curious. If you've been keeping up with them, you'll probably get a reach out, on phone or email. Hey, I've been getting your emails. I'd like to speak with you and stuff like that. So it's very random how it happens, but it's certainly year 2, year 3, stuff like that. I think that's when you really see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, I mean, and so walk us through a little bit about like what has been your process? What's your follow-up like? How is your, because I went into your system and I thought, I'm like, I'm gonna find something unique and different. And actually I was quite surprised because you've actually done absolutely nothing, except for take notes. And one thing that I was actually intrigued by was that I looked at one of the ads you're running, and it's been running for the entire more than a year. I think
Yeah.
you've spent, like, you never turned it off. So I think you spent $6,000 or something crazy.
Yeah.
It's just never turned off. The cost per lead has stayed the same. I don't know what you're doing with that ad, but it's awesome. And so there's probably a lot of comments and likes and shares and stuff happening naturally on it, which is creating more social interaction. But your Julie feature, I didn't see anything you did with that. I see you don't have an email signature.
No.
Everything that I
so.
thought you would need to be successful. So walk me through what your follow-up's like and how you were able to build intrigue with and what are you doing for home values when people request it?
Just to give you a quick background, I've always been a sort of an old school method with my process. Even with expireds, I started day one with like an Excel spreadsheet. So even today, when I get a lead in, it goes into the Excel spreadsheet. So it's very clear cut. There's no, I've used like other tools like Mojo, the triple line dialer and other stuff, but I'm not the tech guy. I'm not the super integration type of person, for whatever reason. But anyways, when a lead comes in, what I'll do is, if I have their email, I'll send over, 1, 2, 3 Main Street valuation. That'll be the subject line. Because obviously, I want them obviously to open up the email. And what I'll do is I'll send local sales in the area rather than giving them, like a home bot value or something. I want to give them a taste of some of the local sales, comps that I would use if I was pricing their house. But I also want to, obviously want to set a face-to-face appointment. And really through like, I'm not sure with HomeBot, but it's very hard to comp a house without seeing it in person unless it's a condo or it's sort of a standard layout. At least where I am, it's very house by house. So, I'll give them the local sales, give them some ideas, they can work off of that. But if they are serious, if they do want to sell, I'm trying to set the face-to-face appointment. So, I tell them I'll give them a more formal evaluation in person. Do you have any time later this week? Take, 15, 20 minutes. I'll be in and out. Just try to keep it low key and no pressure situation, and try to go from there.
Wow. So you're spending no more than a few minutes, recent market. So you do like a half-mile radius of the area, look at some comparables, recent market sales, send them a quick link, build the intrigue, and just say, you have do you have like a little bit of a script? You have a canned email that you use where does it change it up every time?
Yeah, so the email I use, in the subject line, 1, 2, 3 Main Street valuation. And so what I write in there, I say, hi, thanks for checking out my Facebook valuation ad. I put together a list of recent sales in the area to give you some ballpark ideas on pricing. Take a look via the link below. And what I do is I go on the MLS, I'll do like a quarter-mile, half-mile search. I'm trying to grab like 10 properties roughly that have sold, ideally past couple of months, give them some ideas. So I'll put the link right in the email. And then right after, I just say, if you have any interest in selling this year, I'd be happy to stop by in person and give you an accurate valuation. Pricing can be very subjective, especially in this market. Let me know if you have any availability this week. And then I just say, thanks again for taking a look at my ad, and I look forward to hearing from you.
How many of you would like that in the insider group, just as something to look at? Yeah?
Sure.
Awesome. Joe, if you don't mind, at some point, just share that in the group. I think it just, for me, it's so refreshing to know that simple, easy strategy that probably takes you no more than a minute or two to do has created a bunch of intrigue and got people. So talk to me through what's the difference between an email only and then a phone number? Are you calling after you sent that out, or are you sending that out first and then calling? What does that look like?
I like starting with the email right out the gate. because sometimes they'll just respond to the email and it's just easier. But if I have a phone number, definitely I'll email them. I'll call them, certainly that day one. And just sort of going over the same thing. Hey, I sent you some local sales. You're really just trying to build a conversation. How long have you lived there? What are your plans? You can't really go for the appointment right out the gate. I mean, you have to build some rapport with that person. I always take it to like, asking out someone on a date. I mean, you're not just going to go right up to a random stranger. Hey, do you want to go on a date? I mean, you have to build conversation. So that's sort of my thinking. But yeah, I'll definitely reach out to them, on the phone day one.
Okay. And so what about the people that don't respond and or say, you know what, we're 6 months, a year, maybe even more out? How do you stay in touch with them? Are you letting the system do its thing? Do you have a reminder to yourself to check back in?
Yeah, so I mean that's the issue, just because now I have almost 800 leads through StreetText. So I mean the follow-up is really, really tough to do. Now I have an ISA that sort of calls through on these things, just to sort of help me out. But ideally, I mean, at least every month you want to check in with them. At the very least, if you have their email, just touch base. Hey, maybe a market update, or just ask them if they have interest in selling, or if they said they did, what's sort of your time frame, your plans moving forward. The more you can reach out, the better. I mean, it's just a matter of, how much time you have, and then if you're going to have a team helping you out, or if it's just going to be you, and then how many leads you have. If you're new to the game, and I mean, you only have 30, 40 leads, I mean, obviously by yourself, that's no problem to really keep on top of those.
That makes sense. When did you introduce the ISA?
Back in about, not long ago, I would say no more than 2 months ago. I was doing it. Yeah, I was doing it.
What do you do with leads that come in with no email or no name or phone number?
Yeah, so I've been doing a postcard to about 200 of them since September. I haven't had any response or conversion on that. I think with postcards like that, I mean, you can't really expect much of conversion. I mean, if I get one deal out of doing that for like 2 years, that's sort of where I'm thinking it's going to lie. So with the address onlys, I haven't had any success. I mean, maybe someone has, but for me, it just nothing so far.
For your ISA, is it a virtual ISA, or is it someone you hired that's in-house local?
So I'm using, I believe Curtis Michael is in the StreetText group. I think his company's Ravelworks, and he has someone working under him who does the calling, and I think I have him about 10 hours a week. And she's really been great. I mean, really stays on top of it. The notes are great. She's set up a couple appointments that have converted so far. So, I'm just going to keep on top with that and see how the next month or two goes.
And is she using a script that you wrote, or is this one that they gave her to use?
I just gave her details on my process and how I introduced myself to the clients. I think he might have trained her on some kind of scripting. I'm not sure exactly what she's saying, but it seems like she's doing good and really on top of things.
What's the name of the company?
It's Ravelworks. Curtis Michael, he's a member of StreetText group. So if you find him on there, just shoot him a message. And he sort of has an ISA. He was doing it himself, but now I think he has an ISA team he's sort of building out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What are you putting on your postcards, Joseph?
You know what? So I'll just sort of send, just basic information about the market. I just sent one out today, for example. The summer is here was like the headline, and I just did a quick write-up on the summer market, what we're experiencing here. Then obviously you just end with, hey, if I can help you in any way, if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out.
Do you have a QR code on there at all? Anything to try to drive them to your site?
No. Very low
Old
tech.
school, Leon. Old school.
That's sort of my MO, I guess. I'm so behind on the tech stuff, and I'm not even that old, so you figure I'd be better at it.
A real
I
quick
love it.
recommendation for anybody who is sending mailers, the one mailer idea that I've seen work really, really, really well is, again, lowering the imposition level. Offer another level of value. Offer something like you're talking about, you want to see prices around you, want to see activity around you, whatever it is, offer that to them, but basically say you can set that up so long as they text you their email. I just find that if you say, even
That's a
with
good
the
idea.
QR code, right? The QR code takes them somewhere. This does that. This does that. If it's text me your email and I'm going to get you something of value right away. If you lower that imposition level to something as easy as they see it and they can quickly use their phone and accomplish it. And I think, again, it's a quick text, right? Super easy. And then I'm going to set you up on an instant notification alert that will let you know of the activity around you. As soon as a home like yours hits the market or sells, you'll be the first to know of it. All you need to do is text me your email, right? I've had a few people trying that one lately and the response rates have been considerably better. I'll have to get them on the masterminds here to talk about it. But yeah, for anybody who is considering sending mailers, I would consider that step.
Yeah, I really like that idea.
I got this hanger made this past week. And Logan, we talked about the little book I got from Authorify. So that's pretty well what I'm going to be leaving in certain areas, around my neighborhood and stuff. Seller's market, blah, 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 with the business card at the bottom. So we'll see how that works.
It's a good leave behind.
Yeah, and you can even consider getting a bunch of like school-aged kids who are looking for work right now. You can give them, that's what I used to do, is get them to flyer my neighborhood. I'd go and find a bunch of 10, 12-year-olds who are running up and down, give them a big stack of flyers and $20. Just go nuts.
I gotta get my 16-year-old doing it.
Even better.
I need to get her doing it. Got to do something,
One thing that works really well for door hanging, if you don't want to have make up a flyer like you've done, is you can buy a box of newspaper bags on Amazon for like $20 for 1,000 of them. Go to the store, buy neon paper, and just type on the top "wanted," because people are like, wait, what? Neon paper and wanted, and then specifically what you want. I do that. Well, I haven't done that for about 3 weeks because we've been like 120 here, but do 100 of those a week minimum. I have people 6 months later call me going, you think this is weird, but I've held on to your door hanger and da 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 da.
I've used that paper too. I've hot pink, attention homeowner. I just walk around and roll it up and put it in the door handles, but it takes time,
It's exercise.
Oh yeah. But the price of colored paper now is like insane. Like neon paper, it's like $20 for 5,000 of them or something, as compared to $6 for white paper, right?
Yep. If you get a listing, do you care if you spent $20 on 5,000 paper?
Yeah, I guess so. But that's why I printed the door hangers here for now. But anyway.
One of the best postcards that I've seen as far as results is this one. Marcus, you need to enable screen sharing.
Yeah, 1 second here. Go ahead.
So this one right here. So this basically send to your address onlys. It shows a list of what's happening in sort of like the market, but something like a map. And then you see on Get Your Free Home Estimate Today, go to StreetText.com, enter the whatever your custom domain is, and then just send this, because it's a direct call to action, but you're sending it to everybody that was an address only who never completed their information. And this way you get to see people that come in the second time, because it'll show you a number 2 or number 3 beside their name, how many times they came through the funnel. And this is a great way to get all the information for an address only. And because they're coming through a second time, their trust is way higher. This works great. I mean, Matthew, I don't know how many listings he got from his address only just by sending this, and Gino Wade as well. So address only, this is the most effective postcard strategy that I know of. So I just wanted to share that real quick.
What's that go-to?
That's just whatever your website is for your home value, your home value ad that you're running.
Has that changed now with the custom domain though?
Yeah, you can enter your custom domain URL.
Okay.
Or use the QR code pointing to your custom
And
domain.
it comes, and I'll go through StreetText into the leads there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The beauty behind the postcard, it doesn't expire. You don't have prices on there. All you have is sold. So whether they looked at it today or a year from today, you don't have to worry that the prices have changed and they tell you you're outdated. So that thing's always current that way.
Yeah, and like what Logan was saying, it might be easier to try to just have them text you their email and address too, as another alternative, which is an easy ask. So what I want to do is get back to Joseph. If anybody have specific questions for him, because what I really wanted to emphasize here is that you don't need BombBomb, you don't need HomeBot. Those are all great tools. You don't need to spend an enormous amount of time doing CMAs, comparables, and an exact market value with every single lead. You can build intrigue just by doing recent market sales and comparables. And then in that same capacity, really emphasize why that walkthrough would be an awesome opportunity for them to actually get a custom analysis.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Because that for me is for you guys who are trying to find easier, smarter, not harder solutions and get immediate feedback from it and not feel so daunting. This is a great opportunity to consider testing that.
Yeah, I really like what he's saying because I'm doing the same thing, but with the high tech and the video. When I get a full lead, I'll do a live CMA like people have talked about on here. And man, I get good response from that. They're just like, I just show them what's sold. And I say, look, I haven't been in your house in my BombBomb video. I'm like, you know what your house looks like. Look at these houses in your neighborhood. This is what they sold at. And I gave them a range, like people talk about in here. So I've got some pretty positive feedback and I'll keep doing that. But I like sending just a simple email with a quick CMA of what has sold and then just kind of leave it at that. So that's a great way to go. Thanks for that.
So Richard, you do a little BombBomb video with it and just say, I sent you a CMA, please review it? Or do you actually go through each house?
I go through each house. Like I pick at least 3 or 4 and I even open up the pictures. I go, look at this kitchen. It's amazing. I don't know what your kitchen looks like, but if it's anything like this, here's kind of where we're at. I also screenshot the front of the house in the video. And of course I'm playing in the corner, a little small window, just kind of walking them through the process. So far got pretty positive response from people on that.
Yeah, the way I like to look at the video CMAs is each part should have a purpose, right? So have your screen set up for a reason and bring up their home first. And maybe they bought the home 6, 7, 8 years ago, and that's your opportunity to quickly talk about, look, it's a beautiful home when you first purchased it, absolutely. But I'm assuming in the 8 years of ownership, you've probably made some renovations. And right as you're clicking through their photos and they're looking at their kitchen, which is perfectly renovated in real time, they're looking at the photos from 6 years ago and going, oh my goodness. So that's just that eye opener of, look, you've probably done a lot of work that we need to see in order to give you a proper valuation. That's where we're coming from. However, sight unseen, this isn't a bait and switch. You asked for a CMA, darn it, I'm getting you a CMA. I'm getting you what I can with what I have. But this is why it's not accurate. And this is why you can't follow Zillow and Realtor or anything else that's giving you an online value. The only way to get a real value is to have somebody like myself come over, take into account everything that you've done, and then establish a baseline. Then again, you have something like HomeBot or something like that. Great. Well, let's feed the right numbers into it. So we've established a baseline. And Leon says it best all the time, free 99, or at least investigate what you currently have. Look at your tools. Look what you already pay for. You probably pay for a lot more than you're currently using. Consider what you currently have at your disposal and start piecing it all together. You don't need everything, but if you have stuff, use it and figure out how it all kind of links together.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. And I'm getting better with it. The more times I do it, the more I don't even care about being on camera anymore. I'm more into like, hey, this is exciting. Look at this house. And this one guy, basically, he said, hey, because I pointed out he has the smallest square footage in his area, blah, blah, blah. He said, I'm trailing everyone in the area. I'm impressed with your service, your video, and the time you took. I'll definitely keep you in mind when I possibly make a move once I retire in about 2 years. So my job from that point is to keep in contact. Hello, that's what we're doing, right? So I'm pretty sure I have a service called Send Out Cards. I took a picture of his house, put that on there, a little coming soon logo, and just say, hey, man, I really appreciate the feedback. I'm going to stay in touch, which is my job, and keep you informed. Do you have any more questions? Feel free. And so far, you know, I've only been into this for a few months. Like I started a year ago and then I stopped, and then now I'm just starting to get my systems in place, which Leon talks about quite a bit. And it's exhausting. I'm putting my 14-year-old daughter to work, you know, and getting her to move data from one thing to another. And so anyway, I'm kind of having fun with it. I love the mastermind group because every time I come out with something new that I can apply and use, and I foresee things starting to break my way in this regard. So,
you know, it's a lot of it is mentality as well. And what you kind of said there makes a lot of sense in that, you know, there's two ways of looking at that lead. Oh my goodness, 2 years away. This is garbage. What a terrible lead. I'm out of here, right? Or, hey, I have 2 years to wow this individual or keep them close and make sure that when they turn into a seller, they sell with me. But I also have 2 years to work on a relationship that's going to be beneficial in terms of referrals as well. Because he's already told me, look, I'm 2 years away. Great. Now I'm not going to be aggressive, but I'm certainly, hey, do you mind if I check in with you at this date? And somebody tells me 2 years, I'm going to say 4 months. I'd say that's, do you mind if I check in with you in June or whatever it might be? Sure, why not? Right? A quick little check-in. Hey, I just want to let you know this is what's happening in the area around you. I've already set you up on that instant notification alert. How are things going? Do you have any questions? No, okay, great. Why don't we check in at this date as well? And again, you're getting referrals from it. You're developing a relationship. And there's two ways of looking at it. And I think the people who look at it the right way like that, Richard, really, they do build that relationship and get 3 or 4 deals along the road from that individual and then also sell their home. So good job on that one.
Hey, check this out, guys. So this is the ad that Joe's running. 224 comments, 224 comments, 13 shares, 163 likes. And it's basically the old school ad that's not even zoomed out to the standard that we like, zoomed in. And it says, if someone wanted to buy your Fairfield County home, would you sell it, find it its value in the current market? That is incredible. So it just goes to show you, you don't need to stop, pause, and split all the time if your ad's relevancy. And especially you can see that social interaction.
And he doesn't have the custom domain, does he? That didn't look like he had.
Not on that one. That one continued on. So that one continued on.
Well, it's that if you got the custom domain set up in time, you could keep the old ads running. So it is technically using a custom domain. It just won't change the original image on the Facebook site.
So that was my next question, is like, you just turn one on that works and keep it going no matter what. That's a helpful thing.
As long as it's working, absolutely. Yeah. That's the idea. Is once it's working, it should run indefinitely. It's not like, oh, well, in 3 weeks I'll kill it. Absolutely not. That's why we have the 2 columns. Last 7 days is really important. Lifetime of the ad, absolutely. If it's been running for 3 weeks, now it's had a bad week, I'm getting ready to replace it. If it's been running for 6 months and it's had a bad week, well, now I'm going to let it kind of, hopefully it rectifies itself and hopefully we get back on track. You know, an ad that starts poor usually is going to end poor. An ad, you know, ads can go up and down. And again, I'll see people get, 20 leads in a week or in a day or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, a day or a week, you can go pretty dry and it can happen for a while, but you come right back up. Again, the longer the ad's been running, the more likely it's going to rebound.
Yeah.
We look at this.
Speak to that, Joe. What's been your experience? Has it always been at $25 a day? Like, how does that ebb and flow happen with this particular ad you're running?
So I started, I think, around the $9-10 a day. And then as I had some success, I mean, I haven't jumped that number up until probably the beginning of this year. So, now it's at even higher number. Basically, as I have more success, I'm thinking if I up my spend, will I, increase at the same level as upping the spend? And I think it's great to run the original ad because you get all those comments and likes and whatnot. And, it gives you a great presence in wherever area you're advertising. And I think people are more likely to engage on it if they see a lot of other people have already engaged. Whereas, if you run a new ad, I mean, it's, people are a little more skeptical, I think, to click. So, I think if you have an original ad and you're getting a decent return on it, just keep that thing running. And I mean, if you want even lower down the spend, I mean, at the very least, and, you could try other ads as well. But no, I like having it there and having it in the community.
Would you
That's awesome, Joseph.
We go back and turn on our old ads?
If it was created before, really you're welcoming some potential issues, obviously. Even if you can turn an old ad on that's not connected to the special housing ad category, or if it's not under your domain, even if it does happen to go live and gets through the filters somehow, it's just Facebook's going to be looking for that, and they're going to be looking for reasons to ban that ad, ban your ad account. I wouldn't do it. I think what Steve was saying was, if you guys had changed the custom domain, this is months ago now, but if you had done it in time, when you do put your domain in, it actually is still connecting the right direction, but on Facebook, it didn't change the image was all. So you could kind of keep that running for a long time. But I would say for now, and what Joseph is saying is absolutely right. Ads with lots of engagement are beneficial and they're wonderful, and that's what people are looking for. But you got to start that somewhere eventually. And if you don't have an old ad you can turn on, start one now. Hopefully you get one that garners that interest and gets going, and then again leave it and let it build over time. And this time next year you'll have one with thousands of comments and everything as well. But yeah, that's my recommendation.
So Joseph, when you first started, and you got, well, not when you first started, but when you first got your your first listing, and then your second one, your third one, what was the process, if you recall, that led to you getting the conversation and then the appointment and then the listing? Could you walk us through it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first leads that came in, maybe the first week, was a property. I think it had been on the market previously. It expired. They had filled out the information, left the phone number, so I gave her a call just to get a little more information as to what her situation was. And we, dealing with expireds, I've gone through this before. What happened the last time you were on? What were your issues? Just sort of breaking down all those details, and sort of ending up with, I'd love to stop by, just take a quick look. What works for you? And she said she was going on vacation, so I said okay. And she said call back on like a Monday. So I followed up with her, and I think I left her a voicemail. I think she called me back, and we set the appointment. So we got to the house. They might have signed on the spot. A lot of times, especially with expired, so they'll rarely sign on the spot. They'll have to think it over and get back to me. But they were just a great couple. They signed on the spot, and it was an easy sale. I mean, it was in great shape, and we were in a hot market at the time, and I think it moved definitely within the first week. We had an over list offer.
That's awesome, Joseph. Now, and then how did you get your second appointment?
Interestingly enough, the second one was also an expired. And I think when that lead came in, it was actually on the market. And I called him up immediately. And he said the listing was expiring in like a day or something. And, sort of the same process, build some quick rapport, and then say, listen, I'd love to stop by. Do you have any time the upcoming days? I'll be in and out 10, 15 minutes, no pressure.
So did that start through email or through the phone?
I'm not, I think I emailed out both of these people the sales immediately, but then I called them the same day. And this one was definitely through the phone, because I remember speaking with him. He was a character. And yeah, we sort of set the appointment there. I think once again, I think they signed on the spot. So it seemed like the easiest gig in the world at the time. And then, they actually ended up buying something as well. So it was a double deal. But then there was a lull. I mean, nothing really happened late summer. Even the fall was slow. But I think with this program, or really any type of prospecting, you have to hang in there. You have to trust whatever your process is. I mean, if you have a great process, you will get results. I mean, it's not going to be immediate, but I mean, you will get paid for your time. And then, I think around January was when the next one sort of came in, and, things sort of picked up a little bit more.
That's awesome. So then with those ones, did they respond to an email and then you picked up the phone, or did you see that they were expiring and then pursued them that way?
I think I haven't had a ton respond directly to the email wanting to set an appointment. Maybe 2, 3, 4 of them would go that route. I think most of the time you're going to have to get on the phone. I mean, it's really rare that someone's going to just call you immediately off the ad or email you trying to set an appointment through email. I mean, it's just that's it's like a unicorn. I mean, the majority of your appointments are probably going to come from follow-up, where you're just trying to close for an appointment. And but you have to be, I think, proactive on the follow-up. I mean, this whole system is a huge follow-up game. If you're not willing to follow up, you won't get results from it. I mean, there's just no, I think with any seller lead, it's going to be a big follow-up.
So no, something you said in there, which is really important as well, is that you really focused on building that rapport. So how do you like, what's your approach to building rapport?
It depends. If they've never been on the market, we're just getting some more information. First of all, what's sort of your time frame for selling? How long have you been in the house? Could these be original owners that have been there for 30 years? Could it be people have just been there a couple of years? You could talk a little bit about the market. Just really just asking follow-up questions and just sort of gaining a little bit of trust so they can be comfortable with you. And then you sort of go in for, that face-to-face. Really is really what you want. Really, if you're talking with a seller on the phone and they want to sell within the next couple months or even 6 months or a year, really your goal on that conversation is get face-to-face, or at the very least set up a follow-up call to, hopefully close it once again for a face-to-face. Ultimately, you can't sign a listing contract on the phone. I guess you could through email. You don't have to meet all these people, but for me, 99 times out of 100, I'm gonna meet them person to person and before we sign anything.
That's great. So really taking that time to listen to who you're talking to, find out what stage they're in, what their needs are, where they are in the process, and then building that relationship from a trust point of view, so they know that you are ultimately looking out for what they care about the most, and then following up with, okay, is this a good time to connect, or setting up that follow-up call. That's great.
Or if you think about even expired listings, they were on the market, they didn't sell. In their heads, they always have a reason why they didn't sell. 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a price thing. But, they might think the agent didn't hold open houses, there was no communication. It's almost like you want to follow up with them like a doctor. You want the patient, you want to talk to the patient. What are your pain points? What are your issues? Then how can I address these issues for you and solve this issue? So it's sort of the same thing, expired or non-expired, I guess, in that sense.
That's a great example, because I've actually gone to a doctor once where I met them and they prescribed something to me, but they didn't assess the situation.
Yeah.
I did not take what they prescribed because I thought, how could you possibly come to that conclusion? They may have been right. They may have been right, but it's really important, I think, just helping people even go through the process on their end, just to know, okay, what's your thought process to get to the outcome that you have.
Yeah, and every seller has in their mind, some want a super aggressive agent, some want someone that can work with their tenant to get this done. Someone has, someone elderly, they want to make sure you're sensitive to their needs. Everyone has different issues, like going to the doctor, it's sort of the same thing. You really have to listen to your patient and solve an issue for them. It's not, just giving your generic speech. You'll get better results, I think, if you get more personal.
Yeah, absolutely. So then fast forwarding now, how many of your appointments are being set by ISAs and how many are being set just through other means?
I don't think the ISA has set a direct appointment, over the past month or 5-6 weeks that I've been with them. They have set appointments where they've connected with that person and set sort of a follow-up call, and then I set the appointment. Once again, trying to get an ISA to set appointments for you, sure, it's going to happen, but once again, I think the bulk's going to come from you. It all comes down to you in the end. You're the one who can, should be able to close the best, better than the ISA, make that personal connection. I sort of think that's how it goes for the most part. There's great ISAs out there, and I'm sure they'll close some, but so far nothing directly.
Now, something else you said earlier on, which I think is a good point to maybe dig into a little bit, is you said, when you have a great process, it's about sticking with that process and results will show. how do you know that your process is great?
You know, I think I'm confident in my well, you know, the postcard thing I'm not confident in, and that example you guys gave has helped a lot. I'm definitely going to utilize that. So that I'm not confident in. But I think my experience on the phones with expireds for sale by owners, you know, I picked up a lot of it. I've had a ton of losses through that way. So I mean, you know, you're going to make mistakes. That's the only way to learn. And the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. You know, but process and results are not equal immediately. Sometimes you can have a terrible process and get really lucky. And sometimes you can have a great process and it takes time for the results to come. But over time, they do equal out.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of Allison, who shared like a couple months ago, same thing, hasn't touched anything in her account. She hasn't changed the emails. She hasn't changed the drip, hasn't even touched the ad. Her ads aren't even doing that great. And I would recommend split testing again. However, when she shared with us, you could just see there was this confident posture about how she was approaching the lead. She knew that conversations would eventually lead to deals. Therefore, when she's talking to the prospect or the person, the lead, doesn't feel like they're being hunted. They don't feel like, hey, this person just wants the listing, because there's an awareness that some of these conversations are going to fall through. Some of these conversations aren't going to work out to the deal. And I'm okay with that, because if I just keep up with the consistent process, then I'm going to end up winning in the end. So when you have that kind of, it's almost like a blasé attitude towards it. Like, I'm just going to serve you. We're going to see where this conversation goes. And you be human with people, you're going to get a lot further. So it's like, check yourself before you jump on these calls. Like, am I just going to call this person, serve them, ask questions, see where this goes? Or am I going to be like, if I get off the phone and this doesn't end up with a listing, am I going to get disappointed and like go that much more desperate into my next call? So there's a similar confidence that Joe's displaying here in the way that he's portraying how he's following up that I saw in Allison. So just take note of that posture of confidence. I think it's so important with the way we deal with leads. If you do the work and you serve people, it will add up to success. And you just have to keep going confidently.
Yeah,
that's right.
So good.
That's right. Serve, what Kim just said, serve, don't sell. That posture is so important, right? That authenticity is so important for them to feel that you're genuinely there to help them, to serve them, to give them, to guide them, to be a consultant in their goals, wherever that goals are, instead of, you know, most people, they are trying to sell. And that's the key in that process.
So Patty, you may, oh, sorry, Kim. I want to ask Patty a quick question as well after you go.
Okay, I just want to comment on that serve, don't sell. I have a situation where I picked up a client reached out to me. They bought a listing that I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and they've seen my online presence and they called me, even though they weren't my client, and listed a rental property with me. And then they were going to do a 1031 and buy a duplex. Well, we've been looking at duplexes, and then they reached out to a friend of theirs who had a duplex. And so they're buying that duplex, but I'm not part of that transaction because he doesn't want a realtor. And they were scared to tell me. I mean, she cried when she called me because I've been like doing backflips for her. And I'm just like, no, you don't have to cry. You don't have to feel sad. I want to help you. And if you're getting what you want, and you know, if you need my help, I'm right here. And she was just so relieved that I wasn't for the sale. I was for them. And they know a ton of people. I mean, they're like 5th generation farmers around here. And Marcus knows the area, right? Yep. They know everybody. And she goes, I will send you everybody. And I'm like, I know you will. I mean, you know, but it was because I wasn't being a greedy little realtor. I was just serving them and making sure that I was taking really good care of them. And they could feel that. They knew that. So, I mean, that's huge, to serve and not sell.
That is amazing, Kim. At the end of the day, that's ultimately what everybody is looking for. They just want to know that they have somebody who has their back, who really has their interests first. And then layer on top of that, a really competent agent who can negotiate on their behalf, and boom, you just got a winning. Yeah, it's just it's the fastest way to grow.
50,000 over list price, and we were listed where we were supposed to be, and it was all cash. And I was
Yeah.
able to negotiate that, even though that wasn't the offer that came in. I just said, hey, do you want this? Because if you want this, we're only going to counter you, but you got to come up to this price. And they're like, yes. So off we go. So it was a win-win-win as far as I'm concerned.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's so cool. So Patty, you've had a couple wins lately too that you've been sharing. Can you crack that open as well? Just your approach and how you've been how you did that?
I think for us here where we are, we're on coastal Maine. It's a fairly aggressive real estate environment, especially in Portland. A lot of people don't know Maine's a very small state. We're actually the least populated on the eastern seaboard. So we have a lot of realtors and not as many people. It's mostly vacation homes. So they are pretty aggressive. And so we're kind of countering that with the whole helpful attitude. And a lot of what I deal with, like on one of our ads, we have 19 comments. I was just filling one out while we were responding to one. But a lot of it is a lot of fear that if they reach out to us, that they will get spammed. They'll get tons of phone calls. They will get, they'll hear whatever they have to hear in order for us to sign the line, and so that's been our most successful thing, is just reaching out to people, telling them, look, if you list, that's great. If you need to sell, we've got the guy to do that for you. But if you just want to know what your value is so that you can refinance, or so that you can remodel, or just so that you know what's going on, because this is your biggest financial investment that you probably have ever made in your life, that's what we want to do for you. So it's worked out fairly well. So I get funny things, like somebody said that their house would probably be more if they pieced it out lumber because of the price of lumber right now. And I love that kind of stuff. So I just kind of joke back and forth with them. So it's worked out fairly well. So we've got 2 listings. We've been running it for a month tomorrow. So, and we're just doing pretty much basic. We added a bomb video to the very first video. And then he follows up. We have a few too many because this is just my section of it. I'm doing, as far as a team, the Facebook stuff is all new, and he does all of the, and then we have a new agent. So she's learning the ropes, right? So it's a fairly small team, and he does all of his old stuff, all of the typical referrals and FSBOs and expires. And then I'm just feeding him over all of these people when it gets to that point. So we've been blown away by how well it's working already. So, yeah, so that's what we're doing. But being different, everybody here is mailing. So we have had no success in mailers whatsoever because everybody is mailing, but no one's really following up. So that's what I think we're doing a little different. So that seems to be working.
Oh, sorry.
Way to go.
Can I add one more thing? So that was yesterday morning. Yesterday afternoon, I took a family out. A lender that's been courting me. I've never done a transaction with her yet, but she sent me her niece who's qualified up to 1.4. And we went and looked at $1 million ranch. And that's my niche. I'm, the horse girl, right? And it wasn't the right property for them, but there's a property right over here by me that I want to buy, but I'm not ready to yet. And I said, well, let's go look at this, because this kind of, for some reason, seems like it would be a good fit for you. And the husband, he said, Renshaw, are those your signs that are all around Noise or Monday? Because I've got 6 Adopt a Road signs because I help pick up trash and I do like a community event. I do a ton of community stuff. And I was like, yeah, guilty. Those are my signs. And it's free, but my name is out there everywhere, just on signs. And just the connection for that, because he's a firefighter and he's like, are you doing one this weekend? Because we have a bunch of kids and they need to do something like pick up trash. And we don't have an event going this weekend, but it was cool. So we went and looked at 2 properties, 26 and 27 acres right next to each other, like 950, 975. And they had their cousin with them. So we're sitting there looking at these properties And I said, I don't know if they're in escrow yet or what. Well, they just got canceled. So I'm going to reach out and maybe see if I can rekindle that. But it's just the whole serve thing, you know, it's doing whatever's best for them. But then they see the stuff, the community stuff, which it just, all of it ties together. So, I mean, you know, just putting your
so true. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. You cannot understate that when you do things, because just like when your priorities are right, when your motivation is right, you find you have the energy to keep going for a long term, because you aren't looking for an external reward to keep you going. So when your motivation is right, you're there to serve somebody else. That becomes the fuel that keeps you in the game the longest. And I was just so Dan Martell mentioned before, he's amazing influencer. He's got literally thousands of technology companies that he coaches. And he said a really interesting line, which is those that stay in business the longest win. And so it's just about staying in business the longest. That's it. Like, you just need to stay the game. But the way to stay the game is to set your motivation and your priorities right, because then your reward's internal, intrinsic. And then of course that builds everything else. It builds the momentum because people see it. It's real, it's authentic. It's not a show, it's not a facade, it's there. And then all of your other marketing that you're doing, it just amplifies that. And it's amplified by it. It just makes so much sense. So what you're doing, Joseph, how you're building you're seeing it as a long-term thing. It's true. Now add in a few of these other pieces, and all of a sudden, it's like one bite at a time, but add in a few of these pieces and it's just like, wow, that really amplifies everything you're doing. The mailers actually matter. Adopting a road is a really cool idea. I hadn't thought of that, but you're not doing it to win from a marketing perspective. You're doing it because you actually care about that. And I think that's what's the most important.
Well, it's cool because I wrap in like business owners. I'm like, hey, do you want some free marketing or almost free? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, we're doing this Adopt a Road thing, and I'll take your banner and stick it next to my banner and leave it out there for a week, right? Give me a couple gift cards for prizes. I invite all my clients and they get to feel good and they get to bring their kids and do community stuff. And it's just like a win-win-win. And then, of course, I record it and run an ad behind it and build an audience for that too. I mean, I have a bunch of like niche audiences in Facebook, so I can just retarget like that. Sorry, you get me fired up when we talk about audiences and picking up trash.
That was awesome.
That's so much good. So what's the one thing you guys are going to take away from this mastermind today? What are you going to do? Think about it.
Postcard idea was great.
Postcard idea. How many of you are going to start changing up the follow-up process to maybe be more manageable with a half-mile radius, comparable recent market sales type of thing? Yeah, you excited to see Joe's email? And I know, Joe, you're still up to trying out a little bit of BombBomb as well. So I would say the combination of those two things would be amazing. Don't change what's already working for you, but be open.
I think I'm too ugly for BombBomb.
I think you're perfect, man.
I think you're great. You got it, Joseph. You got it.
So when you get a chance, Joe, just share that within the group. And I'm sure a lot of people will love to kind of look at it.
I just put it in the chat here.
Yeah, you could put it in the chat here. Probably best just to go to the StreetText Insider group and just post it if you can take a snapshot.
Okay.
Do a little screenshot of that.
Not a problem.
That'd be helpful. And remember, guys, you don't have to copy those verbatim, but just use that as an idea of something simple that you could do. And then at the end of the day, you just got to test it.
I have a question for Joseph. I came right, unfortunately, I'll watch a replay of this, but just so I can ask you, that post, you say it's a postcard and it says sold. Are they actually sold items with addresses or something? Or is it something that you can also send electronically where they can click on that sold icon to look at the house?
Oh, that wasn't me. I think someone else put that postcard up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was your postcard.
You'll watch that again, and what we're talking about specifically is the follow-up instead of a home value, like a, you know, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, Redfin, style type of, you know, here's what the internet thinks. This is what I think your home's worth. Joseph is really just going after a quick half-mile radius of recent market sales and comparables to build intrigue, and then having a really soft way of saying, hey, let's book an appointment, low pressure, to get into the home and do a true assessment of the home.
Okay, so it is just a postcard. It's not an online post.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
that's different. Yeah, you're talking more of the address only stuff, right? That what we were talking with Joe is basically his home value process for email plus leads. Awesome. Any other shares or questions of Joe particularly, or anybody else for that matter? This is the time. This is a perfect opportunity, so don't be shy, because you've got everybody's attention at this moment. So even especially if you're new and you have questions, don't feel like it's a dumb question.
Well, I messaged him already, but I just wanted to say thanks, because like I appreciate when people can come at things with the mentality of I want to share, and like there's enough business for all of us out there, even those of us that are in markets where there's 10,000 agents in our market. Like I just feel like if you put good stuff out, you do good things, you give things, stuff comes back to you. And so I just want to say thanks, Joe, for taking the time to help us all out. So
yeah, no problem.
And thanks for that comment, Brian. And again, that's exactly what we try to do is, you know, it doesn't really matter whose idea anything was, but sometimes when you provide that nugget of information to a group of individuals such as this, and like you said, see it go out there and somebody else takes your idea but does it a little bit differently, and somebody else does it a little bit differently, and then everybody gets back again in a week, in a month, in a year, and it's a completely different idea now, but the person who started it gets to kind of benefit from what everybody else has done with their idea. Right? It's fantastic. And again, it's coming from that abundance mindset. There's plenty of business for all of us, right? So again, you know, really thanks for all your shares here, Joseph. And yeah, hope to see everybody here on next week's session.
And Joe has said that he may be interested in putting together something as far as the course is concerned. So hint, hint, no pressure though, Joe.
Yeah, I gotta get on that one right after this call.
We don't have a gentleman yet. We have all the ladies doing the courses, but we need a gentleman course.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
I'm still waiting for Leon's too. Leon's got to put something together one of these days. Leon's dropping gold nonstop around here. So
that's something in mind. I just gotta have time. I just turned around and signed a lease to open a new office down in Tacoma. So I'm opening my Tacoma office back up and splitting my Renton office in half. So now I'm getting ready to start pushing the recruiting, because you get these guys that go, I don't want to go up near Seattle. And I'm like, how often do you go to your office in Tacoma? They go, well, I hardly never go. I go, so you can go to escrow and pick up a check, have it mailed, have it deposited. What's your excuse? You meet people on the internet from half around the world selling them a house. What's your excuse? You know, I said, tell people, talk yourself into it, not out of it. So no, hey, Joseph, man, I always laugh. Like I said, you know, I reduced automation this year. I say less is better. I just like what you do, same thing. I just go straight in MLS. I'm using what I have. Your ISA thing, mine set my appointments, but I don't let them set a hard appointment unless it's like a fire sale. The guy comes sign today, and then they'll set the initial appointment, and I just call and confirm it. And that'll probably help you. That'll probably help you their transition over to get you in front of more people or more contacts, and pretty easy. But keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm same thing on MLS. I'm just like, hey, here's the neighborhood snapshot of activity in your area, and then boom, you know, I do the bomb thing when I send it, so I can track the opens, and I'm just soft touching them. So yeah. Kind of where you're at with that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Hey, you two guys, just wanted to ask you, I know over here up in Toronto or up in Canada, when I do an MLS search, I got the option of sending a broker view or a consumer view. Either view, it's got other agents, the listing agent's actual name and brokerage and phone number on there. So I'm going, you're doing a CMA, you're sending some stuff, you know, electronically with links to all these listings. We've got 10 different agents' names on there. Is that something you guys have to deal with too? Because I won't be sending that.
No,
you know, like,
your public one should only have information that's publicly displayed to people. Our broker stuff has contact numbers, all that of the agents. It doesn't show. But
No, I
law,
understand. But the consumer version also has, it doesn't have like the contact name, who owns the house and all that, but it does have the listing broker name, name and not the, yeah, just the name and number and the brokerage. So
Yeah.
the agent is
those-
all there.
Ours says listing displayed or listing supplied courtesy of, and it'll name the brokerage name, and that's about it. But the thing is, if you're sending the content and they're replying to you, they're not going to go elsewhere anyway. And the biggest reminder always is the fact that that agent doesn't represent you; he represents the seller. So who are they going to be with? And you're just reminding them where your value is to them as the buyer agent. You work,
Yeah.
not the other guy.
100%. Every email you don't send, like let's say that's your fear and you don't send the email, they're never going to reply to you because you haven't sent them an email to reply to. But if you were the person receiving it and you got the information, who are you going to inquire? Like who are you going to ask the question to? Obviously the person that just emailed you.
Yeah.
You're going to email the person back. So I think like we have our own filters, but those filters can be great because they help us improve things and refine stuff and make it great. But we don't want to make those filters an excuse to not do the things that are ultimately going to benefit us in the long run. And the agent that, if you're sending all those reports and helping people and sending them listings and everything else, you're going to get way more responses than if you don't send anything at all. So honestly, don't worry about them, because if I saw that and I received it, I'd be like, okay, look, this guy's sending me all this information. I've never heard of those other people before. They're not doing anything for me right now. So I'm gonna talk to the person who's working. And so that's yeah. So I think you can clear that one.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Words for the day for you is talk yourself into something. Don't talk yourself out of something.
100%, Leon.
Too many times. How many? Actually, here's a good question. When I give the answer with it, how many times you've seen people sit there and see what someone else did and go, "Oh, I could have did that," or "I thought about that." And you go, "How long ago?" "I thought about that a year ago." Okay, but you didn't do it. They did. So they're now having success for something you could have done a year ago. There are so many people in this group that have great ideas. And I always say, hey, speak up, say it. If you got a question, ask it, because the hardest part for us is time management and blocking out the time to implement the thought or what we want to do. So what you do is when you set your goal list, it goes like this. If you don't have a business plan, you are your own business. If you don't have a business plan, you're doing something wrong already. We can stumble by blind luck and get lucky, but you're supposed to revisit your business plan to figure out what it is that you're trying to do. And don't be so stubborn that when you run into the wall, you don't realize that if I shift a foot to the left or right, there's a door I can open. Don't get away. I had a guy laughing yesterday because I told him yesterday, he says, "Leon," he says, "what role are you in this?" I said, "Well, there's your castle. There's the moat. I'm the drawbridge. Let's go." And the guy started laughing because I'd seen some stuff where he's into medieval stuff. So I just gave him the terms for what he knew. But you honestly have to revisit your plan. That's like when we say split testing. There's a good example. 3 ads are running. 2 suck. Go with the one that works. Or I had 3 ads marked as help me do. They're running great. What I did is go back, and when I looked through them, seeing which one gave me the most. The one is giving me the most phone numbers with the emails that's what I took, shut the other 2 off. So it's just honestly, self-assessment is important. And if you got something you want to do, schedule like an appointment to make you do it. That way you'll eventually get around to it, and then hold yourself accountable. And if you can't hold yourself accountable, get someone else to kick you dead in your ass to make you do it. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to do stuff. I've invented over 100 products, in the last 2 years alone, that I never invented a single thing, because you think of something great, you're like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? And then 3 months later, you see exactly what you were thinking of as this brand new product on the market because you didn't move and do anything, right? Somebody else, the same great ideas are out there for everybody to have. It's the people who act on them the quickest that really get things done. So great advice on that, Liam.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Gotta go.
Have a great day, and can't wait to see you next week.